Dogs are really good at hiding their pain, and many of them are suffering in silence. Now, Dr. Edward, this has been a topic that you've been very interested in for a very long time. How many pets do you think are suffering in silence?
Well, I know for sure that with the dogs that I see, more than half the animals that come into the clinic have significant body pain that their owners can't see. Now, look at Mitzi, he looks fine, right?
Yes.
So, but if I assess him, you can see his ear twitching there?
Yes.
And then flinching down. Oh, ow.
Yeah.
So Mitzi's actually a high-impact little guy. He beats himself up by fighting with other dogs through the fence and things like that. He's also quite, see the response there?
Yeah.
He's quite sore in his lower back. So as we keep talking, I'm going to do a little bit of the whole energy body balance bodywork with him.
Yes.
To help that.
You created the whole energy body balance because of this. Tell us a little bit about how it works.
So the whole energy body balance method is a profoundly healing bodywork modality for home and professional use. It's a neurofascial bodywork, so it connects with, you see Mitzi now is starting to really relax as I'm easing that pain and tension out of his body. What we use is a range of hands-on techniques to melt pain, anxiety and trauma out of your dog's life.
How does this differ to massage?
So massage tends to focus on the muscles. This focuses on the connective tissues in the body, which the connective tissues are everywhere in all the organs. And we also focus very strongly on getting the spine healthy and mobile, because when you've got a healthy spine, you've got a healthy everything.
That's right. And this is obviously something that people can learn and do at home as well. But what are some of the other things that we can do to help our pets?
One of the #1 things I recommend to people to minimise silent pain building up in their dog's body over time is to minimise high impact, high arousal play. So what happens is that when you have a ball come out and the dog's excitement levels or arousal shoot up, their pain tolerance shoots up too, and they don't feel the harm they're doing to their body.
No.
Second thing is there's a lot of good supplements you can use, like turmeric, blueberries, CBD, that are really beautiful antioxidants and help reduce inflammation. But for me, the core of good health for all animals is a fresh, raw, whole foods diet.
That's right, because that really helps bring down the inflammation, which
Absolutely.
pretty much is at the root cause of a lot of our pain anyway.
And now you can see how Mitzi's feeling much better already, right?
I'm feeling better just looking at it. So how can people find out more about the whole energy body balance method?
Come along to wholeenergybodybalance.com and we have a free hour-long masterclass every 2 weeks on this very topic, where we take a real deep dive into why it's so easy to miss and how to pick it up.
Yeah, fantastic. And of course, if you'd like to find out more about a really good raw food diet that can help bring that inflammation right down, visit the Big Dog website. Providing vet services and ongoing vet care in remote Indigenous communities is extremely difficult. This is not only impacting on the health of the dogs, but also the well-being of the local community. I'm here thanks to the Petspiration Foundation in the Tiwi Islands to find out firsthand the work that AMRIC is doing here and in other remote Indigenous communities. Katrina, what are some of the biggest challenges around dog care here in the remote Indigenous communities?
So of course, it's in the name, a lot of communities are very remote, and so distance is a huge factor. These communities can be 9-10 hours away from a veterinary clinic, and so of course it's very hard to access veterinary care for your pets, and also products to treat them for fleas and ticks and worms and the things that are really commonly available for us.
Yes. And what are some of the biggest threats that are facing the dogs and the people in these communities?
So for instance, Ehrlichiosis, which is a notifiable disease which has newly entered Australia in the last sort of 2 years. We've been dealing with the fallout of that and seeing that spread through remote communities over the past 18 months. And of course, people within these communities aren't able to access veterinary care when their dogs become sick. So that's a really traumatic thing for someone to have to deal with.
Yes, everyone living together, if there's no access to the products to prevent ticks and parasites, this must really impact on the human health as well.
Yeah, and so I suppose that falls under lots of different veterinary illnesses, you know, zoonotic diseases such as ringworm, etc. And those types of things, when you live very closely and your pets and your animals live with you and sleep with you, it's very easy for those diseases to pass between us and our pets.
So Language and cultural differences, do you find that's a barrier at all as well?
It's not so much a barrier. I am always astounded by how people are just so welcoming to us coming into their communities. They make such an effort to speak with us and engage with us, and I always think it's just amazing that people who maybe speak 5 or 6 different languages can come up and have a chat with us fluently in English.
So what is AMRIC doing to try and help solve some of these problems?
So as an organisation, we work together with remote communities, local government organisations and higher government levels to facilitate and coordinate veterinary programs within remote communities alongside volunteer staff. And we also run education programs concurrently to those programs, usually within the school to all age groups, and sometimes within organisations in the community, maybe ranger groups, etc. We're teaching them about animal health topics that are relevant so they understand why we're here doing the vet work that we're doing.
And also there's a stores program, isn't there, to try and get more products that people can access?
Yeah, so as an organisation we can see that there's really a lack of access to animal health products, and so as an organisation we're really working hard to try and get remote stores stocked with appropriate and effective and affordable antiparasitics for community members to purchase.
Very big one. Thank you. Thanks, Katrina, for your time and for all the work that you guys are doing out here. It's amazing. If you'd like to support the work of AMRIC, I've been out here firsthand and just seen how important it is, how much the communities love their dogs and how much they need our help. So visit amric.org. Thank you.
Thanks.
People often mistakenly project a human emotion onto their dog's behaviour as they try to make sense of what's going on. For example, myself and many other trainers often hear owners saying that their dog peed inside on the bed or chewed up their favourite pair of shoes as payback for leaving them home alone or spending too much time with a new baby, maybe another dog or person, and that their dog looked so guilty when they got home. It's really important that this myth is debunked because the real reason is generally loneliness, boredom and anxiety. Destructive behaviour can also be the result of a dog who's feeling frustrated or simply needs more exercise, so they're instinctively reacting to relieve that stress or all that pent-up energy. There can be other things going on too, particularly with toileting in the house. You may have simply left them too long to hold on, outside access could have been blocked, or they might have even been spooked when they went outside. It may have been raining, or maybe it was a bit too cold for them, or they could even be suffering a urinary tract infection. They could be marking their territory. In short, it could be many things, but it's not spite or revenge. Let me quickly explain that look of so-called guilt as well. You've been out, your dog has peed in the house or destroyed an item again. In the past, when this has happened, you might have told them off when you came in. So now your dog, when you come inside the house, is cowering, they've got their eyes wide, they don't look at you. And of course, you assume this is from guilt. However, what they do know and what they are reacting to is very different to what we are. They know that 1, there is pee or a destroyed item present. You probably even keep looking or pointing at it. And 2, they know that you're angry. So while they can associate your reaction with the pee or item being in the room, they don't associate your reaction with the actual act of peeing or destroying said item. A dog needs to have a consequence, good or bad, for a behaviour just at the time they're displaying it, or at least within a few seconds. Otherwise, they can't make the association between that action and the consequence. This is at the heart of any dog training and behaviour. This means scolding or punishing your dog when you get home for something that they've already done, no matter the reason, is not only unfair, it's actually kind of cruel, and it will generally make the behaviour worse by increasing their anxiety. So next time you come home to a destroyed house or a puddle of pee, think about what your dog might actually need from you, rather than punishing or guilt-shaming them with a photo or a video that you just want to post on social media for a bit of fun. As a Petstock Rewards member, if you purchase any participating brand of flea, tick and worming treatment, including NexGard Spectra, they'll give you 15% brand cashback to use the next time you shop for the same brand, even if it's on promotion. T's and C's apply. Visit the website for details. This week's breeding focus is the Pomeranian, affectionately known as the Pom-Pom. Joining us today is Coda, here, yes, hello, little bear, and Kovu, and we've also got Mabel over there. A Spitz-type dog that were first bred in the 1800s and named after the Pomerania region of Poland and eastern Germany.
Interestingly though, these little fluff balls have ancestors that were 50% larger, but selective breeding has seen their size diminish over time and they're now classified as a toy dog. They are very playful, active, friendly and intelligent, making them popular pets. They're also quite alert, making them prone to barking.
Yes, these extroverted, lively little things are very affectionate and they can be reserved around strangers if they're not socialised properly. Early positive exposure with people and other dogs and pets can help ensure that they get along well with everyone.
They make great companions for people of all ages and they aren't an overly dependent breed.
They're an active dog, so they need to be walked each day, and they're also highly intelligent, so obedience and tricks training will really help to keep them mentally stimulated, which is just as important as the physical exercise.
And their coat is undoubtedly beautiful.
Yes.
And they know it. It's a double coat with a thick undercoat that can become matted. So maintenance involves brushing every few days and removal of any mats as they appear. They're more suited to cold climates because of that thick coat, so they can become overheated quite easily.
And how do these guys fare health-wise?
Well, they're generally considered quite a healthy breed with an average lifespan of 16 years. But in that time, patellar luxation can be particularly common. And it occurs when the kneecap slips out of place and it can cause intermittent skipping or early degeneration of the knee joint, depending on the severity. Leg calf Perth's disease is also seen, as is hip dysplasia, and they both affect the hip joint. And in the Pomeranian, the other thing that they can be affected by is hypothyroidism, hair loss problems, epilepsy, and a collapsing trachea.
Oh, that's why if you hear them honking, if they do that honking cough, then make sure you see your vet as soon as possible.
That's absolutely right. If you see your vet at the first sign of anything that's wrong, early treatment can make a massive difference to the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. To find out how HIF Pet Insurance can help your pet in times of need, visit hif.com.au. Teaching your dog to tidy up their toy box not only keeps your place clean, it's also a great brain game, which is really good for our dogs. We need to keep them mentally stimulated. Now, the key to this is keeping their toy box in the same place, just while they're learning at least, and also using their favourite toy. Now, Darcy's is this very slimy chicken. So you are going to be fighting against their favourite toy, which means you need a high-value treat reward. So I'm using the VitaPet Pocket Trainers, which Darcy loves. So the key to this then is I'm going to give it to him and I want to lure him somehow, use my fingers, click, whatever it is to get his attention, to get him to bring it into the toy box. As he holds it over, I'm going to release the treat, and when he drops it, I'm going to mark it with a yes. You can use a clicker or good dog, and then you give them the reward. Then once they're reliably doing that, you then add the cue word. So let's see how we go. Okay. Yes, good boy. I didn't even need to lure him over because it was already in there. Good boy. Yes, good boy. Now, because he's reliably doing this, I'm going to add the cue word. Tidy up. Yes, good boy. See how I held until it was in the toy box? If he dropped it outside the toy box, we'd just do it again. We don't want to mark the behaviour that we don't want. Tidy up. Yes, good boy. Tidy up. Yes, good boy. Now, some dogs might learn this as quickly as Darcy can, particularly if they're treat motivated. It might take them a couple of weeks. Look, it might even take your dog a month. It just depends, really. But the key is to finding something that really motivates them and motivates them more than their favourite toy, and showing them what you want them to do. Now, if you'd like more tips and tricks for training a dog, visit the VitaPet website. I also have this step-by-step on the Pooches at Play website. And who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Good boy. Tidy up. Yes, good boy. Each year, hundreds of thousands of animals suffer and die due to cosmetic testing of products. Today, I'm joined by Michelle Thew, the CEO of Cruelty Free International, to find out why this is happening and what we can do to help. Why and how are animals used in testing of cosmetic products?
Well, animals have been used since the 1940s, traditionally for toxicity tests, the kinds of tests that you use for chemicals to test their effect on the body.
And, 500,000 cosmetics testing alone, but the problem is far bigger when we look at all scientific testing, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. We estimate around 192 million animals are used in research and testing internationally every year.
What are the alternatives if we're not using animals? I mean, can we find alternatives? Is it still okay?
What's actually happened in the last few decades is that non-animal methods have really improved. So now you can use computer modelling, you can look, for example, at existing chemicals and what the effects of those are, read across that data into new chemicals, and some really exciting developments where you can use, say, reconstructed human skin instead of scraping the back off a guinea pig, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did read one of the numbers on your website was 200,000 dogs. That's not with cosmetic testing, they're not used in that, but just in testing overall.
Yes, so when we're talking about cosmetics testing, we generally are talking about animals like rabbits, for example. Guinea pigs will be used. I think the rabbit has become the iconic animal that's been identified with cosmetics testing, and that's largely because of a test called the Drey's eye test, which was, again, developed in the 1940s, and that's where substances are dripped into the eyes of rabbits to test their effect. And I think that's made rabbits the iconic animal for cosmetics testing. But again, procedures like that have now been replaced, which is really good news.
What should people look out for then? If they're looking to choose a product on the shelves, is there something that people can see that will help distinguish the good from the bad?
So if you don't want to support cosmetics that are tested on animals, we would urge consumers to shop from our Leaping Bunny programme. So that's an international gold standard programme that shows that brands have done all that they can. And in terms of Australia, what happened last year is that we actually joined forces with Choose Cruelty Free in Australia. So we're now part of one global programme.
Right, great. And there are a couple of others out there, so people really just should be looking for that bunny and obviously check the organisation and the accreditation just to make sure what they're choosing is indeed cruelty-free. And the other good thing that I find is that a lot of those products are not just cruelty-free, they tend to be more sustainable, they tend to be, obviously natural and have a lot of other benefits that go along with them.
You've got to do your homework and you've got to maybe look for a few different labels when you're out shopping, but increasingly brands are really listening to what consumers want.
Lovely. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lara. Yes, we're definitely moving in the right direction, which is great news.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Michelle. If you're looking for a cruelty-free dog grooming range, visit dogongorgeous.com.au. And for cruelty-free cosmetics, head to thekindcollectiveaustralia.com. Both are natural, all Australian made and owned products. Many anxious dogs may bark, lunge and even go to bite when feeling threatened by strangers or other dogs that get too close to them. This is something I've had to work on with Vindy, who I adopted last year. Then there are those dogs that are submissive or back away when approached, clearly demonstrating that they're feeling uncomfortable. You need to know what signs to look out for in both your own dogs as well as other dogs that indicate that they're not feeling comfortable and that they want some space. These include those subtle signs like yawning out of context, flicking of their tongue and licking their lips, panting, ducking their head, ears back, averting eye contact and their tail tucked under. Then there's the really obvious ones like cowering, backing away, perhaps submissively rolling over, and those fear-based responses like growling, barking or lunging at people or other dogs. In all of these instances, it's so important that you don't keep approaching the dog. Don't put out your hand to them despite what you've been told, and just move away, avoiding eye contact, and give them the space that they need. If your own puppy or dog is off lead, please don't let them run up to other dogs unless you're absolutely sure that you know the dog and that they're comfortable with that. If you can't stop your own dog from running straight up to others uninvited, then you may need to work on your own dog's impulse control and also their recall. On that note, I do recommend that owners of anxious or reactive dogs don't take them to off-leash dog parks. It can make their anxiety worse, so get the help of a qualified trainer to work with you on it and in the right environment. If you do see an owner with their dog at a distance that suddenly stops when they see you or is looking to cross the road to create some distance, or perhaps they're already struggling with a growling or lunging dog, the best thing you can do is just stop until they can get their dog out of the situation. There are a lot of rescue dogs in new homes and many owners struggling with this issue. So rather than continuing your approach or casting judgment or a dirty look when you see a dog acting a little bit like a child having a tantrum, remember that a little bit of empathy goes a very long way. Finally, if you do find it too hard to walk past a dog without saying hi, yeah, like me, always make sure you give them control of the situation. Turn to your side, pat your leg and see if they want to come to you. If they don't approach or they move away, then just leave them alone. If you do have an anxious dog, talk to your local pet stock vet or puppy school. Some areas also offer mobile dog training services, which can also help. Visit petstock.com.au. In May 2020, Ehrlichiosis, a deadly tick-borne disease, was first identified in Western Australia's Kimberley region. Since then, it's been wreaking havoc across remote and rural Indigenous communities and poses a significant threat to the dogs that live there. Katrina, what are the symptoms and how is Ehrlichiosis treated?
The really common symptoms would be the dog becomes lethargic, very tired, they don't want to eat, and they just become generally very unwell. They might get cloudy eyes and maybe some conjunctivitis and severe weight loss.
And how big a problem is it in remote Indigenous communities?
It's a really big problem. Of course, there is a lack of access to veterinary services and antiparasitic treatments within remote communities, and so that means that community members can't treat their own animals usually for tick burdens, and brown dog tick is how Ehrlichiosis is spread.
And it's actually a totally preventable disease, yet it is endemic across many regions in northern Australia, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the remote communities that we visit, as well as areas of WA and now Queensland, are seeing Ehrlichiosis spread through those communities. And that's obviously due to the fact that there are limited veterinary services and often limited education around and access to antiparasitic treatments that can prevent them being bitten by ticks.
Okay, in the first place. So we're not all protected by it, really. We like to think we might be, but like anything, if dogs are moving into regions, it's been found in northern South Australia as well, hasn't it?
That's
so
correct.
There is potential that it can spread.
Yeah, definitely. And so there has been isolated cases of dogs travelling to different areas where you wouldn't normally see brown dog ticks, but usually the disease will stay within the area where we see brown dog ticks, which is mostly northern Australia.
Okay, all right. So what is AMRIC doing to try and help stamp this out, make sure our dogs are protected?
Yeah, so obviously because it's endemic now, it's an ongoing issue within remote communities, but as an organisation, we rose a lot of awareness over the past sort of 18 months regarding this disease, and really our main aim was to support remote communities, and so we were able to do that through some really large donations of antiparasitics.
Yes.
And we were able to get thousands of doses and distribute them to hundreds of communities. That was done through donations and supporters of AMRIC. We also have been to Canberra to speak to politicians in regards to the disease and the effects it's been having, and generally trying to give remote communities support.
Yep, okay, so they need the parasite protection, they need the awareness, obviously, and it is a message for any dog owner or pet owner just to make sure that your parasite control is up to date. Okay, thank you very much, Katrina. Don't forget, AMRIC does need your support to help these local communities really get on top of some of the major issues that they're facing. So visit amric.org. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you like to win a Pawsome prize pack worth over $2,000? One lucky person will win a year's supply of VitaPet treats, Big Dog pet foods, NextGuard Spectra monthly chews, a $250 Pet Stock gift voucher, DGG grooming and apparel, and a year's subscription to Dog TV. Plus, there's 6 consolation prizes featuring my latest book, World of Dogs, with a VitaPet treat bundle. To enter, sign up to our e-news and tell us the name of one of the charities featured this series. All entries will receive a free ebook on how to create a happy, healthy dog, so visit poochesatplay.com. That brings us to the end of this week's episode, but there's plenty more information and entertainment on the Pooches at Play website and social media platforms. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.